Hi, everyone. Tanya Hertz here. We're going to finish up with the slides on leadership and teams, and we're going to look primarily at diversity in teams, or we're going to start with diversity in teams, and we're going to start by looking at the different kinds of diversity that there is. There are two primary types of diversities. There's surface level diversity and then deep level diversity, or outward diversity and inward diversity. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So the outward diversity or the surface level diversity is diversity that we can see, right? We can see with our eyes. We can know that there is a difference in people based on what we see. So that's age, that's race, gender, all of those things that we can tell just by looking at a person. And there's also deep level diversity, and that's diversity in terms of values. And on a very deep level, things like religion, race, not race, I'm sorry, religion, political affiliation. Race would be a surface level diversity. So the reason I'm telling you about these two different types of diversity is because because of the two different types of diversity, it makes two paradoxical approaches possible, and that's the value and diversity problem solving approach and the similarity attraction approach. So the value and diversity problem solving approach states that diversity is valuable because different people have different opinions, different ideas, different ways of solving problems, and so they solve problems better. And so that says diversity is good. Diversity is good because there's a value in their different approaches to solving problems. Now, there's another conflicting paradoxical approach to diversity, saying that that diversity is bad, is detrimental, because people are attracted to people who look like them, who think like them, who behave like them, and they're more likely to work well with people who are like them, and that's what we call the similarity attraction approach, which is also true, and that's because of that deep level diversity. People tend to perform better in teams when they are working longer together in teams, when the diversity is surface level diversity, when it's things like age and race and things that you can see, gender, sex, etc. The longer you're together with people, the more you realize that those things don't really matter, and you tend to perform better as a team. The longer you're together, you tend to perform worse as a team when there is a true deep level diversity. So things like political affiliation. We have people who are, maybe heavily right wing, and then heavily liberal, two opposite sides of the spectrum. The more they get to know one another, the less they like each other, the worse they tend to perform when they're working with one another. Now, there are things that you can do as a manager and as a team leader to make sure that you get the best out of people, regardless of whether the diversity is deep level or surface level. And diversity training does work. It does work. It is more difficult when the diversity is deep level, and we find that when people do have a difference in things like religion and political affiliation, that the training is better when it focuses on the outcomes of the team performance, and not on understanding necessarily one another and trying to see things from different points of view, which works with surface level diversity. So maybe a little deeper than we needed to go, but I just wanted to make sure that we understood that we do need to know at a fundamental level what our team members are like, and then approach that management of diversity differently. So there are several key characteristics of effective teams. Effective teams have a clear mission and high performance standards. The mission should be articulated repeatedly. You should talk about your mission once a week, right? Maybe at most once every couple of weeks. Make sure that people are constantly working toward that same mission, and all things should be built around that mission and the value, and you should be constantly evaluating to make sure that you're not falling victim to what we call creep, right? Mission creep. It happens a lot in teams where we want to be high performing, and we end up getting a little bit off track, If you keep reiterating that mission, it helps you to stay on track. So leaders who are really good at evaluating their resources and looking at what they have available to them tend to help the team perform better. Leaders who also spend a considerable amount of time assessing the skill levels of their employees or subordinates tend to do better and perform well. Leaders who are good at actually securing and procuring resources help to create effective teams. Leaders who spend more time planning and organizing rather than the doing tend to perform better. So teams also tend to perform better when they have higher levels of cognitive ability of the team members. So you need pretty smart people, because teams are a way that we can delegate large amounts of responsibility and authority to our team members. And teams that talk a lot, have a lot of communication, tend to do better, because there's always going to be interpersonal conflicts. And so you need to just stay on top of it. You need to constantly stay on top of it. Teams who have that shared mission, shared values, the diversity is surface level and not deep level. Those are the teams that tend to perform best. All right, so the following 4 variables need to be in place for a team to work effectively. You need task structure. So you need to have structure around the specific tasks associated with the job itself. So task performance type focus. You need to have boundaries for the group. You need appropriate norms, and you need to have the authority in the team to delegate and to tell people what to do and to get things done. By group boundaries and appropriate norms, that particularly what we're talking about there is we want we need to make sure that the environment in which the team operates is working well. We need to make sure that the team sets appropriate boundaries, doesn't I've been guilty of this myself over the years. You get so excited about a project that you're working on, and you do things like you text your employees late at night or your team members late at night, and you really shouldn't. You need to keep that work-life balance, and you need to manage stress and manage overload of your team members. All those things together can really help you to build an effective team. And there's a model of the iceberg model, or the TLM, team leadership model, that kind of shows what mechanisms are in place that need to be in place for a team to perform well. And that's the input, the processes, and the output. And really what we can see from the outside is really just the processes and the output. And we use this mechanism to look and see what a team needs to be effective, and help the leader to figure out what potentially could go wrong in the future. And this is the TLM. It's also called sometimes the iceberg model, because it's excuse me, it essentially shows that all of those systems that go into the team processes and output, there's so much more than what you actually see, and those are so critically important, but often people don't even understand what's going into it, right? They don't even understand what's happening, because how do we gauge success of a team? Well, very often it's based on the outputs, right? Were they successful in their performance? So if the team was put together in order to I don't know, to put on a big end of the year pitch competition, you can tell whether or not the team was successful based on whether or not the pitch competition was successful. But that doesn't go into, it doesn't go into all of the things that go behind the scenes. And this model can help you to sort of assess those things that do go in. So the characteristics of the people, the individuals, the factors of the team, and then the systems that are in place. Systems are very important in team functions, especially as you grow. If without effective systems, you're managing one at a time, and you can't scale, you can't grow. So Virtual teams are becoming ever more prevalent. You will undoubtedly be working, you already are working in virtual teams, right? Any of you in school right now are working in virtual teams. This is a new world that we live in. The virtual teams, in order to be effective, they really need to have the buy-in from the top of the organization. You need leadership from the senior management. You need a design of the organization in such a way that these types of teams can work well. You need to make sure that everyone on the team understands the technology that you use and understands it well. Try working on a virtual team with a group of people who've never used Google Docs or Google Drive, right? It's frustrating, it's difficult, right? Or who've never used Slack before, or any of the other types of online technology or virtual technology that make life easier. You need to make sure that any technology that you bring on, that you have buy-in, so people understand why you're using it, and they get training, and you give time for them to learn the technology before you expect them to perform. There needs to be trust, because when you're in a team, you're relying on one another, and you need to be able to take advantage of the strengths of the different team members, right? There's value in diversity, so take advantage of that diversity, and and really from the very beginning, try to get teams put together where you have that shared mission, shared value, and but everything else should be diverse. So, all right, that's that for teams, and we'll see you at the next one. All right, take care. And